Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Sedona, Arizona this morning, and I have to apologize if there's echo or if there's bad sound. Instagram, I'm trying to get you set up over here without you falling. I didn't bring all my things, but I made a very last minute trip, actually right after book club last week. I jumped on a plane and headed out to Arizona to surprise my parents and help them move into their new home. So been putting up artwork, been doing all sorts of things, and it's coming together, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm looking out at gorgeous red rocks. Maybe at the end I can turn this around so you guys can see. But today is Monday, which means it's book club day, and I will never miss a book club if I can help it. We are in the midst of The Untethered Soul. And this is a book by Michael Singer. Absolutely incredible. Good morning, Lou. If you are a regular on book club, let me know when you get here so we can jump in here shortly. And for those that maybe are not reading the book live with us, that's okay. Every single one of these conversations is deeply powerful. Today is really talking about how to live life in a joyful place and the necessity to go through pain and accept pain in order to get there. It can feel counterintuitive, but it is deeply powerful. Hey, Karen, good to see you. So let's just dive right in. We've got 30 minutes together, and this might be one of the more profound conversations, and I think there's some nuance here that I want to kind of dive into. So great chapter. Whoa, yeah, Tina, I agree. This chapter, like if you can wrap your heart and your mind around the conversation here, this is like the key. Okay, this is the key that unlocks everything. So let's jump in. All right, we're on chapter 11, Pain, the Price of Freedom, which just right there tells you some interesting things. But let me ask you this. Who likes feeling pain? Put a 1 in the chat if you enjoy feeling pain. I think most of us do not, right? I don't see any ones coming in on anywhere over here. Facebook, Instagram, none of you. But who has ever, put a 2 in the chat, who has ever learned something through a painful experience? You went through something painful, and out on the other side, you learned something through it. Put a 2 in the chat if that has been the case. I know for me, for sure, relationships sometimes have been painful, but I've learned something. Going through my traumatic brain injury, losing my health, I learned so much after losing my health, which was one of the biggest challenges and most painful experiences. Hey, Marie, good to see you. Hey, Charlotte, good to see you. Yeah, so I'm seeing lots of 2s. So it's interesting because none of us like feeling pain, but I would actually put forth that a lot of the most incredible lessons you have learned in this life up to this point are things you learned through painful experiences. Interesting. And this is kind of what we get into here. So usually in my office at home, right, I'm out in Sedona today, so I don't have it, but typically behind me, you guys have seen that yin yang, and inside of it, I have the tree of life. The reason I have that is because it is a constant reminder that in this world, on earth, everything exists through polarity, right? We have day and night, we have love and hate, we have dark and light, we have all of these polarities. And the yin yang is that polarity, right? That we have, the black and the white typically is how we see the yin yang. And the key is realizing that you need both. The totality of life is when you can embrace all of it. And I love the yin yang I have at my house because in the dark is the roots of the tree. And this is where you learn things. So in the darkness, in the pain, in the uncomfortable times, like we just said, and I'm seeing 2s all over the place, this is where we learn things about ourselves. This is where the challenges force us to ask different questions, to go within ourselves, to learn different things. And then in the light times, this is where the tree grows. You have to have strong roots or else when wind comes, right, you'll get knocked down. You need to have a strength within you, but it's painful. And a lot of times we'd avoid the pain. But the truth of the matter is it's in those painful moments and times, and sometimes they can last years, that we actually have our deepest learning. And that's why I keep that yin yang behind me as this constant reminder. I don't know if you guys have any little reminders that you have around your house about that, but it's really incredible. And so when you are consciously aware that our life, like in order to master Earth, being here on this human journey, it's learning to be with the totality of it all. Not having a preference for good or bad, for love or hate, for something that's pleasurable or something that's painful. If you really want to get into it, it's being like the sky. The sky is totally unconditional. The sky doesn't care if there's a storm, it's snowing. Yesterday it was snowing here, then there was a rainbow. The sky was indifferent to it all. It just embraced it all. And that's the key to life. And really what this chapter gets at is you need to have an open heart to all of it, to the painful things and the pleasurable things. And he gets into how most of us don't even realize that we have a baked in tendency to avoid pain, okay? And most of us, I would say, until the pain of staying the same outweighs the pain of change, we don't do anything. High five me if you can relate to that. It's not until something is so painful, it's happened so many times, that finally we go, okay, I will change, right? That happens for a lot of us, right? Because change involves challenging what's familiar to us. Daring to question our traditional needs for safety, comfort, and control. And so a lot of times we avoid pain and we avoid change. But what he says is once you can face your disturbances, you will realize that there is a layer of pain seated deep in the core of your heart. And this pain is so uncomfortable, so challenging, so destructive to the individual self that your entire life is spent avoiding it. Remember last week we talked about that thorn? Okay, hey Jane, good to see you. So last week we talked about that thorn and how literally so many of us, like you can see in that example, it would be ridiculous to build a contraption around a thorn, right? It's like, just pull the dang thing out. It'll be painful for a moment. I talked about my dog, like how he like wants to bite me when I pull the thing out, but once it's out, he's like, oh, thanks, Mom, right? You got to go through the pain. But we don't realize this with our inner pain. And he says, your entire personality is built upon ways of being, thinking, acting, and believing that were developed to avoid this pain. I'm going to read that again because this is probably one of the most key things, right? Lou says, Change is a popular song in my college days by Bowie. Okay, yeah, there we go. Is that the song? Changes. Is that the one? No, I don't know if that's by Bowie, but that's what came to my mind, Lou. So I'm going to read it again. He says, your entire personality, and I'm going to get into this a little bit because I don't think he fleshed it out as well as he could have. Your entire personality is built upon ways of being, thinking, acting, and believing. I did get it right. There it is. Yes. That were developed to avoid this pain. So my spiritual teacher would say that the core pain that every child feels is, I'm not lovable. Something happens in our childhood that causes this belief that we're not lovable because maybe a parent reacted a certain way, a friend, something in the external world, and we go, oh wow, I thought I was embraced by love always, but when I act this way, love was taken away. And so if I act this way, I will get love. All right? And so this original core pain, he's talking about the same thing. There's a core pain in there, and we start to learn through interaction what we need to do in order to continue to get the love so that pain doesn't get bumped up against again. And so we start to do things like, just confessions, right? Who's a people pleaser? Put a 1 in the chat if you tend to be a people pleaser. Like you tend towards wanting to make sure everyone is taken care of, everybody else is okay. You don't want to get into an argument. You don't want to get into a disagreement. You're like, it's okay. I got this. I'll take it on. You don't worry about it. I've got everything, right? Lou says, okay, confessions. Karen, yes. It's so many of us, Tina. Okay, there's a lot of us, right? Charlotte, all right. So we get into this. Why? Because we learned that if we help others to feel okay, then they think and give us love, right? We receive love. And we think, right, it's down here in the heart space that if we don't do those things, love will be taken away from us, right? If we don't have the approval of others, et cetera, it'll be too painful. And so we do things in order to create the external environment so we feel the love. Is this making sense? And other things you might do, like I think what got baked into me, I'm definitely this, maybe some of you are too, is achievement. It was like, oh, when I achieved things, I got love. And so it was like, well, I'm going to be the best in sports. I'm going to be best in school. I'm going to be best at everything that I do. Totally. Jane's there too. Okay. So if I do all of these things, then I get the recognition, I get the love. It's the right thing, so it just reinforced. And I happen to be very good at sports. I happen to be very good at school. And so it was like, for me, it was like this thing that just got reinforced. And so I didn't even realize, right, that I was sometimes achieving in order to feel love because there was some pain inside in my heart. Whereas when I didn't get it, bad, didn't feel good. So hopefully that's making sense. So again, the point is your entire personality The things you think, the way of your being, the way that you act, the things you believe are developed to avoid this pain. This is profound. I get into this really deeply in mastery. I know Karen, Tina, you guys have gone deeper with me on this topic, and you're like, yeah, eat a pingalo, like, you know. Okay, so typically, right, we have physical pain. We know physical pain, but psychological pain has layers to it. There's emotional layers to it. And maybe he says, like, the psyche is built upon avoiding this pain, and as a result, it has fear of pain as its foundation. So audit yourself. If you are doing something to avoid pain, the pain is running your life. Remember the thorn example. If you're building your entire house, this entire contraption, everything to avoid feeling the pain of the thorn, you haven't freed yourself from the thorn. Even though you're saying like, oh, I found the way and I patented this thing to like make it so the thorn doesn't hurt. It's like the thorn is still your life. You're not free of it. You're only free of it when you pull it out. And so if pain is the reason you're doing something to avoid pain, all right, then yeah, we're all doing it all day long, Jane. Amen, we are. And what I love about this chapter, I put it in Telegram. I said, this is radical ownership. Like this chapter is talking about how the victim consciousness is just, it's not allowed. Like it's not. If you're hurt by something that the external world did, said, whatever, that's your problem. It's not the world. You don't need to go change something out there. You got to figure out what in the world is making me hurt inside. Why is that painful for me? And you need to go into that. It's not the external world's like, that's why I hate everything being so PC these days. I'm like, oh my God, you're missing the point. Like if you're offended by something, that's not the external world's problem. That's a you problem. Okay? And that ruffles feathers because it's radical ownership. It's radical ownership of your own life. It's looking into the mirror. It's doing the deep reflective work. This is where spiritual growth happens. This is spiritual development. True spiritual development is to go, no, that's within me. I need to go figure out what that is so that I can actually have an open heart to everything. So let me ask you this. He says, your personality traits and behavior patterns are all about avoiding pain. If you want to validate this, just see what happens if someone mentions your weight. How do you feel when someone says something about your weight? PC does take away a lot of the fun. Yeah, exactly. Like comedians can't even be comedians now because they have to be PC. It's like ridiculous. Anyway, there's a whole tangent I can go on. But like high five me, 5 in the chat, if you have ever been hurt because someone made a comment about your weight or about the clothes you were wearing, about maybe the car you were driving or the house that you own or the type of bike that you had, like insert whatever. Put a 5 in the chat. Just have you ever been offended? Like, has it ever hurt? Emmy, yes. Thank you. Jane, yes. Okay, yeah, like for sure it happens. You know, I just made a suggestion, and it's funny, like when you have this so present in mind, I made a suggestion while I was here with my parents, right? And what came back was like an immediate like it was not taken the way that I meant it, and it was like, it hurt. And I went, why did I just take offense to that? But I felt it in my heart space, right? And so I didn't let any of the mind get involved. Okay, everyone's high-fiving me. So we've all been there, and it's like, look at that and go, why did that just hurt? Like, was I seeking approval from them, and all of a sudden I didn't get it, and so ouch? That was my need for approval, right? Like, what is it? You see what I'm getting at? Like, there's a core thing in there that's getting bumped up against. It's not because someone didn't like your idea or whatever, didn't like your clothes, or like, who the hell cares? Like, honestly, who cares? Who cares? You shouldn't care. That's for sure. But we do, right? Because it's baked into us and no one taught us another way. You know, it's, what is it? Like keeping up with the Joneses, right? I mean, I know many of you are from other countries and whatever else, but I'm pretty sure that's a common thing. At least in the United States, it for sure is keeping up with the Joneses, right? I want you to look and do the things that my neighbors have, and they need to know that my status is okay and blah, blah, blah. It's wild because we're afraid of rejection. So if you're hiding yourself in a busy social life, for example, this is not me, but maybe some of you could relate. If you're hiding yourself in a busy social life, then maybe you have a core pain. So let's build this out. I want to make sure this made sense. So his example was you have a core pain of rejection, right? I just talked about need for approval. So it's kind of sensing the same. Like you don't like being rejected. No one, that's not a good feeling, right? Happened to me over the weekend with my dad. Yeah, Karen, me too. There we go. Jane says it's in the UK too. Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought so. Emmy, I don't know if it's over there in Asia, but I'm sure there's something similar. So we have this core pain of rejection and wanting to avoid feeling rejected, right? Because that hurts the heart. So he says, what do you do? So one of the ways that we act, behave, and try and get the outside world to kind of adjust so that we don't get triggered there is we go have a lot of friends. All right, well, if I'm accepted by all of these people, I must be okay. They're not going to reject me. I'm going to be totally fine. I'll be the most popular person. I'll plan all the parties. I'll plan all the things, right? I'll take care of everybody. I'll throw surprise parties. Everyone's going to love me, right? This is a thing. Check your internet connection. Your live stream is experiencing connection issues. Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I don't know what to do about that because I'm in a new house. Hopefully I continue to come through. Okay, so third thing now is that we must act in a certain way so they continue to accept us. So in this example with the friends, we're having to wear certain clothes, do certain things, show up in a certain way, help in a certain way, right? You see the layers that are getting built on here? And so then when maybe you ask a friend like, hey, do you want to catch a movie with me? And they say, oh, I can't, I'm busy. You get offended. Like, oh my God, I just got rejected. But it's not that. Okay, thanks, Jane, for letting me know. Yeah, I'll have to let my parents know. We're figuring this whole house out. It's been fun. But do you see how there's layers and how this is why in your day-to-day interactions, you get upset by what a shopkeeper said, by someone in the road cutting you off, by all this stuff, because it's these core pains that are in there. Not being accepted, for being rejection, wanting everyone to be pleased. Like, boom, it gets bumped up against. It's like your little thorn is getting hit. Your contraption's not working. All right? Doesn't feel good. Does not feel good. So what do we do, right? It's possible. It's possible to not care. All right? He says, and I love this, he says, get some perspective. I'm here in Sedona. It's a dark sky community. So you go outside at night and it's just like, you just see stars for forever. And I've always said, ever since I was little, I'd love to go outside because it made you feel so small. That's always like why I loved living out west in Colorado, because the mountains just made me feel so small. And here, like being around these massive red rock formations, like you feel so insignificant in the, like what your mind is thinking. It's like, what is the point of any of those thoughts? Okay, so what Mickey is recommending is just stop devoting your life to avoiding this psychological pain. Go outside tonight, look at the stars, and just, I love how he puts this, like you're on this little piece of dirt in a galaxy that is part of this massive solar system, right? And it's like, what in the world does it matter if someone didn't like the necklace you were wearing? It's so vast. Yeah, Big Sky, Montana. There you go, Lou, you know. It's like, just put it in perspective. Whenever my mind starts to get the best of me, I walk outside. I go out in nature and I'm like, just this thing is ridiculous that we have, our inner roommate. It can just get ridiculous. So reset yourself, get the perspective again. So go outside tonight and do that. You're not a victim, all right? People are not hurting you. This is the radical ownership you need to take. Once you look inside yourself and you start to own this, he says, you will see that we come back to the two foundational choices from last week, which is number one, leave the pain inside and struggle with the outside world, right? Leave the thorn in and struggle to create a contraption so you don't get hurt. Or choice two, decide that you don't want to spend your entire life avoiding the pain and you'd rather just get rid of it. So pull the thorn out, pull the pain out, right? Let me ask you this. Do you really want to carry around all of that pain inside and manipulate the outside world to avoid being hurt? Like, does anyone on here want to do that? Y'all are biased. I know you don't because you're reading the book with me. We're trying to figure this out, right? Right? How do we do this? What would life be like if you weren't run by pain? Like, you would be totally free. You would be totally free. You'd be having fun. You would just be comfortable with whatever is unfolding, right? Exactly. Annie, I'm with you. Like, no, this sounds like a ridiculous way to live. So fear causes you to protect yourself, right? Fear, if you understand how this mind of ours works, it's on a binary system. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. Seek pleasure, avoid pain. That's what it does. And so it's wanting to avoid pain. And so it will tell you, it will insert fear so that you avoid the pain. It will say, don't go there. We've been there in the past. It didn't turn out well. You want to go this direction, avoid that situation, right? Tina's like, yeah, I don't want the burden. I don't want any pain. Well, you got to understand the mind. you're learning, spiritual development is learning to master and bypass the mind so you can actually access the joy, the love, the peace, everything that's behind it. But you got to learn how to navigate the mind. And the mind is going to tell you, seek pleasure, avoid pain. And fear is going to come up. And guys, to me now, fear is like an indicator light on my dashboard that I'm bursting past a limitation in my mind. Most people hit fear and they bounce back, right? They call it, I think Bob Proctor calls it the terror barrier, right? When you're doing things in life, and a lot of you I know are entrepreneurs, you get out there in life and you're trying to grow business, you're trying to do things, and you hit up the terror barrier, and a lot of people bounce back. I know in network marketing, in my industry, so many people fail at it because they don't like the feelings of rejection, the stuff, they get scared, they bounce back into their old life. But guess what? If you move past the pain, you see that you shatter it, it was just something that your own mind was putting in the way. It wasn't actually there. And you get past that, and that's where growth happens. Well, guys, the same thing, the same concept is true with spiritual growth. When you can shatter the fear in the mind, when you realize it's not real, when you realize pain is nothing but energy moving through, there's nothing to be scared of, that's when you get past the illusion. It's when you get past the illusion. Hello, this is right here. I'm setting this up with Mom. Do you understand what the Om is for? Right? This is the illusion. This is you, your true self. And this is the veil, right? The waking, dreaming, and sleeping state of humanity. We're stuck in here, inside this veil, not realizing that, no, our true self is over here. There's a lot to this. I won't get into it today. I'm going to be very sidetracked. But there's so much more if you move beyond it. All right? And you'll realize it's just a curtain. And pain is the thing we got to walk through. And so most people don't want to do it. Okay? He says, you cannot spend your life avoiding things that are not actually happening, or everything will become negative. All you will end up seeing is how much can potentially go wrong. Do you have any idea how many things can cause inner pain and disturbance? Like every freaking thing can. He says, probably more than the stars in the sky. If you want to grow and be free to explore life, you cannot spend your life avoiding the myriad of things that might hurt your heart and mind. Okay? All you have to do is allow it to be. I'm going to give you guys a challenge this week. Okay? Oh, you've not seen that before, Lou. It's the Om symbol. Ask Tina about it. She learned about it in her management mastery. We talked all about what this is actually teaching you. This is a powerful reminder. The yogis, they figured it out. They figured out the human journey. They figured out the illusion that we're living in, the truth of who we really are, and how to get through this little trap door. And that's what I teach in Mastery, is how to go beyond the mind, get through the trap door that takes you to your true self. It's powerful. Anyway, back to my dare for you. So he says, most people can hardly imagine what it would be like to be at peace and with inner disturbance. But if you do not learn to be comfortable with it, you will devote your life to avoiding it. So I have a challenge to help you be okay with inner disturbance. This is something I started doing week and a half ago. I think it's been a week and a half. And it was because someone that I look up to challenged me to do it. Hot, cold, hot shower. 3 minutes hot shower, 3 minutes cold shower, 3 minutes hot shower. Okay? So you're in there doing your thing in the shower. It's hot, it's warm, it feels great for 3 minutes. And then you crank it to the coldest setting. 3 minutes. Listen to your mind. It will scream. Do it anyway. It's going to feel painful. Do it anyway. 3 minutes. And then after 3 minutes, go back into the hot water for 3 minutes. And it's fascinating to just realize you can master your mind. The only energy that crazy mind of yours gets is what you give it. You can ignore it, and you can do it anyway. You're in charge here, not your inner roommate. Who's up for the cold shower? Who's going to do it? Learning to be with painful things, learning to be with the uncomfortable things, learning to push yourself. Let's put a 3 in the chat if we're going to do it. Put a 3 if you're up for the hot, cold, hot shower. 3 minutes. It's a longer shower. I usually don't take that long of showers, but 3 minutes. Who's doing it? Lou, you doing it? Tina, doing it? Karen, doing it? All right. Next week, we're going to talk about this. In the Telegram chat, actually. You can put in there what your experience is like. Just do it. And I just have my phone like over on the side next to my towel. So I just set a 3-minute timer. It goes off. I click repeat. Next. Then it goes off. Repeat. Next. You kind of get the idea. So 3 minutes. Now it's much easier. At first, it was fascinating. It's just fascinating. Your mind is like, well, I don't want to. Let's go. That's the stuff. You start to do these little things so then you can handle the bigger things, right, Karen? Like when your dad said something and it hurts your heart. You can guide yourself through opening through that. Jane, I will put the Telegram. Let me see. Is it saved here? It is. There's the Telegram chat. It's now in the chat. Emmy says, I did that a long time ago in a pool setting, not yet in the shower. We'll try it. Yeah. If you guys have like if you have available to you a cold plunge, same essence. You can do a cold plunge. It's interesting. This is the stuff we have to kind of do to learn to guide ourselves, to be okay with the uncomfortable things. All right. Just open your heart to it all. It's fascinating. Like I felt so called out by this chapter because it's like he really understands the human mind. Like how many times have you gotten into an argument with somebody and you're like, oh, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm just going to walk away. I'm never going to talk to them again. And they're going to be so sorry they ever said that to me. Right? How sassy does our mind get? It can get so sassy. And it's ridiculous. Right? It's just ridiculous. Like, but it seems normal because most people in society, it's that way. You know? It's all of us. But once you do that number and you close around that event, this is when the layers of stuff, the personality trait, all the things just start going in. And you realize the craziness of the contraption you're building around the inner thorn. And you got to just let it go because that is true freedom. All right. But the human journey, most of us don't understand this. And so you can't master it. So what do you need to do? You need to learn to drop and relax and open your heart. Now, for those of you, who's on here? Tina, Karen, I don't think there's anybody else on. If you've been through Inner Management Mastery, I want you right now to think about yoga therapy. And for those of you that haven't, I'm going to get into it. Yoga therapy, again, the yogis were just so incredible. They created a practice that teaches you how to go into the body, where their theory is that the trapped energy from our past lingers there in the body physically, to go in and learn to be with that discomfort, this trapped energy. Mickey talks about this, and he doesn't get into it as in depth. He says that if you open your heart to something when it's uncomfortable, you might feel heat. Those of you that have been through mastery, and I taught you how to be with the discomfort in your body, and it started to release, right? All of you had this experience. Put some of the words in the chat as to what you felt. Some of you, I remember telling me you felt tingling in your body. You felt pins and needles. You felt streaming. You felt pulsing. You felt numbness. You moved. Your body physically moved without your muscles moving you. Just put in the chat some of the things you've experienced for those of you who have been through this. Guys, this is the power of some of these yogic practices. This is why I created Mastery, to help you do this, because Mickey's work is profound, but sometimes I feel that people have a hard time learning and being able to rest with something. Like in yoga therapy, I teach you how to breathe with discomfort, how to simply feel it. Because most of the times we breathe to like avoid it or to push it down. Breathe to be with it, to say it's okay that you're here. I'm willing to feel you. Learn to feel it. Literally be descriptive. Be curious about the feeling, about what that pain feels like. Relax with it. Loosen around it. Create space for it. Invite it in. And then watch it and allow it to be. And the power of having a facilitator through this is because a lot of times the mind will jump in when something feels too intense. You're like, oh my God, no way. This thing is going to just take me over and it's going to wash me out and I'm going to never stop crying and I can't do it. And so we push it back down. Okay, but here we go. Those of you that have experienced allowing it to come up and out, you felt free. You felt tingling, tremors, crying, pulsating heat, the lessening of discomfort, emotional release. Karen and Tina have experienced this with me. It's powerful. And it lasts, right, ladies? Like, it's like whatever that was, that blockage is now gone. That's the power of something like yoga therapy. And it's the same thing. Mickey's teaching the same principle, which is just if you can open your heart, you will start to feel the energy of it move through. Exactly, Jane. It's a deep release. Relief after it, it releases and it moves out. Yeah. It's powerful. It's so powerful. I could talk about this forever. Time flew today. How did it fly so much? I don't know. It's a deep chapter. Okay, so I just some wrapping up thoughts that I wanted to highlight for you. Spiritual growth exists in that moment. Let me speak. Spiritual growth exists in that moment when you are consciously willing to pay the price of freedom. That's the price. You paid it, Karen. You paid it, Tina. Many of you have paid it, right? You pay that price of freedom. You go through it. The only way through, you have to feel it in order to go through it. At the mind level, you cannot. You have to feel it in your being, let it be there, and let it release. You have to. That's what opens the trapdoor. He says, spiritual growth exists in that moment when you are consciously willing to pay the price of freedom. You must be willing at all times, in all circumstances, to remain conscious in the face of pain and to work with your heart by relaxing and remaining open. My screensaver on my cell phone says, open your heart. Every time I look at it, it's a reminder, open your heart, open your heart, open your heart, open your heart. Whatever's happening, open your heart, accept it. That's the key. The people, the places, everything. All right, final thoughts. Remember, if you close around something, you will be psychologically sensitive about that subject for the rest of your life. If you have closed around the loss of a loved one, if you've not dealt with your grief, you will be sensitive to that for the rest of your life. If you've closed around the loss of a relationship, the loss of a job, you have to deal with it, guys. You have to go in there. Because you stored it inside of you, you will be afraid that it will happen again. But if you relax instead of closing, it will work its way through you. The feelings that were just described here. It will work its way through you, through sensation, right? Not through thinking, through sensation. If you stay open, the blocked energy inside of you will release naturally and you will not take on any more. Eventually, you will understand that there is an ocean of love behind all of this fear and pain. And over time, you will form an intensely personal relationship with this beautiful inner force. It will replace the relationship you currently have with inner pain and disturbance, and now peace and love will run your life. This is how, when you go beyond the mind, when you reach this space, it's called Turiya, Lou. Look up what the Om symbol means. This is where you go, and you get out of this craziness of the pain cycle and all of the stuff we're in this life. You get beyond the veil. You can go through the trapdoor. It happens through feeling, going beyond the mind. You reach there. It's so beautiful. Mickey puts it in such wonderful language, and it's just like these ancient philosophies tie right in with it. Tina said, my pain deep as I'm still working to release and feel the hurt. Yeah, it takes time. It's a lifetime of stuff that we've blocked that gets baked in there from traumas and things in our past. And so it takes time to release it and to relearn. No one taught us this. I don't know why they didn't teach us this, but they didn't teach us this. We're learning now how to be with these uncomfortable things, and that really is the key to freedom. It really is. So, cold showers this week, 333. Let's do it. I'm telling you, it feels good. Your body just feels like alive afterwards. Like it feels so good on the other side. It's like getting to the other side of the pain. It opens you to this peace. It's amazing. Peace like a river. Yes. Awesome. Well, I have lots of love for all of you. If you feel like this would have been helpful for someone that you love to listen to, tag them, share it with them. This will remain up all the time. We can chat in Telegram. And next week, we're on to part 4 of the book, Going Beyond. All right. So what chapter is that? Chapter 12, Taking Down the Walls. All right. Looks like maybe a shorter chapter. I don't know. They're all about the same length. So lots of love to all of you. And I'll see you next week.